Dr. Nito Kubain, who is the kind of the godfather of NSA, he says, be prudently frugal and selectively extravagant.
Welcome to Watch Smarts, where smart people get smarter about watches. I'm your host, David Newman. Let's jump right in. I hope you're sitting down. We have guitar virtuoso, master speaker, and watch aficionado, Mr. Mike Rayburn, here on the show. Welcome to Watch Smarts.
Hello, David. Thank you so much for having me here.
So this will be a fun conversation. I'm not sure, by the way, if I've ever used virtuoso and aficionado in the same sentence, but I just did because it applies to you. It applies to you.
Yes, and your vocabulary is growing as we speak. And yeah, that's an interesting point, though. Those are two good terms.
I know. Aren't they fun to say? Yeah. So take us back. Because I just, right before we turned on the mics, I asked if you have sort of a childhood connection with watches, and you said, oh my goodness, I do. So Mike Rayburn, take us back. You're a small young boy. What was your initial connection to the world of watches?
Yeah, well, it was sometime around, I'm guessing it was probably around Boy Scouts or so. And my entire focus, well, okay, and so I liked them. And it's interesting, I'm not a gadget guy. I'm not into like little, technical things that will make things work better and whatever. I can't even say it. I'm just not into that. However, watches to me represented, they had a function. And that's what we were talking about just before we turned the mics on is, I have a theory about why guys tend to like watches. Women like them too, but guys tend toward watches more than anything else. And here's why. I think because on one hand, many of us wouldn't mind wearing at least masculine jewelry, but we're guys, so it has to have a function. It has to do something. It can't just be like, I've got this little, nobody can see this, but I've got this little necklace on. It's a compass. And I want to be a guide. Okay, it's a compass. And so I wear it because I like the way it looks and what it means and all that. But most guys, it's like, no, it has to have a function. Watches do. They tell time, and then they do 1,000 other things nowadays. And so I think that's why. So I gravitated toward having a watch that I could take out in the woods. I could go hiking. I could go camping overnight, backpacking, cycling I used to do. So that was my first inroads to it. I know there was a Timex along the way. I don't remember when exactly. But that was how I got into it at first.
Do you remember what that first watch was as a kid? Because you mentioned Boy Scouts. I'm curious, was it a Boy Scout watch? No,
it was not a Boy Scout watch. It was something that my dad either gave me or he had and didn't use anymore. And then I don't remember that exactly, if I found it or if he gave it to me. But it was my dad's watch, and it was it wasn't, one of those, survival watches, it wasn't that kind of thing. It was just like, with a silver band and, a white face. It was a very normal watch.
Yeah.
Loved it. I loved the way it felt. I loved having it on. I think this is true. If I've got a good watch, I walk a little taller, or I feel a little better. Maybe that's wrong, but I just do, and I like it.
Yes.
So my first experience of that was in Boy Scouts. Like, I got a watch. I can tell you what time it is anytime you ask me, or something stupid like that.
Take us a little bit later on. Do you remember what the first watch was that you bought with your own money, and how old you were? And do you remember kind of what it cost? Do you still have it? Tell us about that.
I bought an $18 Casio. $18 Casio. Yeah. And here's the blessing and the curse of Casio watches. They don't break. They don't stop working. And sometimes you're looking at this thing on your wrist for the next 5 years and you're going like, break so I can buy something else. And it just won't. And so that would be the first one I bought. And it was, this is later on, once digital came out. And so it had the digital numbers. I have always, though, even though I've had some of those watches, I have always gravitated toward having hands. I don't like the numbers. The digits. I've never cared for those. Nothing against them. It's just not my thing.
Now, what was the moment that you went from, I like watches, I love watches, to I want to start a collection?
I hadn't thought of that, but now that you asked me, I know. It was when I became a speaker. We were off mic. We were talking about each of our journeys with speaking, and I became a speaker in 2001, and I started meeting people who had these watches I hadn't seen, having the chronograph, having, the different knobs on the thing, it's larger, they shine. I was seeing people walk around NSA. For those of you who don't know, that's the National Speakers Association. Dave and I are both part of that, have been. And I would see these people walking around, and the people who were really successful, they had these cool watches. And so I started learning. And of course, I'd heard of Rolex. When you look at higher end watches, that's usually the opening volley. And so I'd heard of that, but these were different. And so there was a guy, I'll mention him later. There's a guy named Jim Feldman. Do you know Jim?
I do.
He has countless really beautiful collector's watches. He and I struck up a conversation. I just remember this. I had performed for NSA. We have this foundation event at the second or third night of the conference, for those not familiar with this. And I got to be entertainment. I was the headline, performer. And Jim came up to me afterwards. And he said two things. Number one, he said, I was wearing a tuxedo shirt. Okay, so I was dressed. He said, is this the only tuxedo shirt you have? I was like, yeah. And then he said, you are performing in front, and this is going to echo coming up later. You are performing in front of very successful people, and you are a great guitarist. You need to have something better. I was wearing the Casio. For this performance. And he opened my eyes to the idea that there are higher end watches and they're really cool. And at first, I'm raised by parents, you and I are both almost the same age. I got 2 years on you, but by parents who grew up in the Depression.
Oh, yes.
Were affected by it. And so the idea of spending more than $18 on a watch, if it functions, could not be justified. That's where I come to the table. I've worked on that. Oh, by the way, this is great. Dr. Nito Kubain, who is the kind of the godfather of NSA, he has a great phrase about that. He says, be prudently frugal and selectively extravagant. Prudently frugal, selectively extravagant. So in other words, live below your means, but allow yourself a little dalliance, here or there. So anyway, after he opened my eyes to that, this is actually a good use of knockoffs. He'll call himself a peddler. He sells things, whatever it is, he sells it. And one of them was knockoff, replica Rolexes and Breitlings and, whatever else, Cartiers and whatever. And so he said, I've got a few knockoffs. Try different ones. Buy them from me for $100 or whatever. Wear them for a while. See which one feels best and then buy that real one. Okay, I'm not a fan of knockoffs, but that made sense. So I did, and I got one of them. I can't show you, but this isn't video. I forgot.
We can show the video because why not? Some people might watch the video, but you're right. Most of our listeners are going to be ears only. But find us on YouTube, people. Find us on TikTok, and you'll see Mike's watch.
It's an Invicta, but you can look at that. Bezel looks like that looks like a Breitling to just about anybody if you're just walking through the mall.
Yeah.
And I've had countless people come up to me and say, "Oh, I love your Breitling," or whatever. I'm like, "It's an Invicta, but that's okay." And so, anyway, this one in particular was given to me by a comedian friend named Buzz Sutherland, and so I decided from that. I was able to get a little cross-section of the different ones, and I started studying them as well. I started reading about them and started digging into more. And I realized that I personally resonate completely over all other watches with Breitling. I decided Breitling is the models, the story, the aviator thing. I love their website. I used to study their website for my website, so back in the day, it's changed completely since then. But, so I decided that Breitling was my brand. So that was was Jim saying, dude, you got to do this better. And you need to wear something a little more representative of success than your Casio. And I got it. And he also, by the way, to complete that story, about 3 weeks later, a handmade shirt, a tuxedo shirt arrived in the mail. He had it made I said, what's your shirt size? I'm like, what? And he had one made for me and sent it.
Now that is a generous friend. Quick commercial break here to ask you, have you seen all of the cool resources, downloads, and guides waiting for you at watchsmarts.com? Go check it out. You'll love it. I love this idea of, it's almost like training wheels, right, Mike? So you say, listen, we're not going to do a $20,000 experiment. It's like, oh, here's a high-end Rolex, here's a high-end Breitling, here's a Patek Philippe for $50,000. See if you like it. It's like, no. Let me get the fake watch, wear it for a little bit, because people that are not into watches yet, they don't realize that watches, there's a certain weight, there's a certain balance, there's a certain feel on the wrist, right?
Yes, it feels so.
And if you don't love every second of it, why are you spending that money?
Right. Exactly.
And so you had the training wheels experience. What was the first real watch that you liked the training wheels so much that you bought the real one?
Breitling. And in fact, it's kind of the only one. I have a couple others that I've scouted out. I know what my next purchases will be, but it's really just one, Breitling. And I had set, so for 25 years, I had been thinking about, like, which watch do I want? Which one? And going back and forth. You look through my phone, you don't find pictures of chicks, you find pictures of watches, okay? I've got like all these different, and there's mostly Breitling models. And there's others I like. I like the Tag Carreras, and I'll tell you about this other sort of under the radar watch. I think it's Swiss or German. I think it's Swiss, called Steinhardt. And there's they have a bronze marine watch that is stunning. It's huge too. You got to like a big watch. But anyway, so I decided Breitling was what I wanted. And I went back and forth, and I had a bunch of them there, and I just imagined, and I went through the prices and all the back and forth. And so then about 2 years ago, I was on a cruise through the Scandinavia. Well, not all of it, but some of it. And we were in Denmark. And I was walking through Copenhagen, and there's a Breitling store there. Of course, so my wife and I, she knows I like, she's like, would you like to go in there? It's like, yeah, I would. And so we went in, and it's high end, so they treat you really well. That's one of the things I like. I'm not a luxury guy. I own a 20-year-old pickup truck with 235,000 miles on it. That's my only vehicle. So I'm not like Mr. Luxury, but I love the way they treated us. So my wife is sitting there, and they've given her a glass of champagne, so she can sit there and watch me experience the different watches. They've set me down at the glass container. They've pulled out the nice little felt, the little pad there, and she's brought out the different watches. My favorite, nobody's watching this, but if David can tell you, he could probably guess from just the background of this, my favorite color is blue. And so I gravitated toward the Superocean Heritage, Breitling Superocean Heritage. And obviously there's a bunch of different metals, colors, different bands, different ways you can do them. And I can show this one to you. That's the one it is. So it's not the chronograph. It's just the regular thing. So anyway, I'm looking at those, and I had gravitated toward the blue face. I knew that was what I wanted. So we sat down there, and they had a number of them. And she brought the blue face. I tried it on. I loved it. Then she brought this one out, and it's deep forest green face. And I could not get my eyes off of it. And I'm going, blue is my color, but this one is better. So I trusted my gut. I bought it. It was the problem with buying things in the European Union is the tax on top of it. And so there's $1,000 on top of this. So I paid $6,500 for a $5,500 watch, more or less. Yeah. And so what you have to do is then you have to package it up in this way, and then they have to see, as you're getting on the plane, you have this point, and you let them know what your card number is, and they credit the money back to you. Yeah. And I didn't check it. I assume they did. I hope they did. So I bought it there. I also got to check it out. I didn't know how old school watches could be waterproof. I understand the newer ones, but the whole tightening down part of
the screw down crown,
Screw down crown, thank you. So what is that word? We're speakers. I'm supposed to know that stuff. That blew me away. And so one of the first cool things I did with it was I did a cold plunge in Helsinki in Finland, and took the watch with me. And I was like, I've got my watch underwater. This is so cool. Yeah.
Now, the typical watch collector mania would be, okay, I got my dream watch. I got the GOAT, right? Greatest of all time. I got my holy grail. Here it is. It's this amazing dark forest green. But I'm going to be happy with this for about 20 seconds. I think I want the blue one also. Did that ever come into your mind either right then and there or years later that, man, I got to get that blue one to add to my collection?
Yeah. Did it come into mind back then or years later or during this conversation? Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It got to, and not that I want another Superocean Heritage, but there are certain metals I'm drawn to rose gold. I love rose gold. I like the Navitimers, and so I would love to get one of those. That was the original Breitlings I looked at that I've loved were the Navitimers. And it was a stretch for me to spend that much money on a watch anyway, so I didn't go. The Navitimers are another 5,000 higher or something, 10.
Yes.
They're higher. However, what I found is I have different functions for watches. And by the way, you said something about like you get this thing and it's so good and whatever you want to wear. I wear this every single day. I love this watch. If it's a car, this is my daily driver.
So that's your desert island watch.
It's my desert island watch. It's my on-stage watch. It's my everything watch. Yeah. With the exception of if I'm cycling or working out or doing, like I chop wood and different things I do. So if I'm working out or doing serious kind of work, meaning physical work, I don't have this one because I want to protect it. But for everything else, I wear this all the time.
Now, it's interesting that you say this. I was just reading something, and that's an automatic watch, correct? It's self-winding. Right.
Correct.
So I understand about protecting it from being hit with a hammer or an axe or something, but I was reading something that even with vigorous exercise, you should not wear a mechanical watch because a lot of vigorous exercise, even though movement helps it wind, too much movement or too much violent movement is very tough on the delicate inner components of the watch.
That makes total sense. I hadn't heard that, but I'm glad you said it.
So if you're doing like an hour of aerobic dancing, you should take off the automatic watch.
Well said. That makes total sense to me, and I hadn't thought that. But it makes me glad I take it off to work out. So
right.
I'm not, bench pressing, my 13 pounds.
Exactly.
I'm joking. I'm better than that.
So I'm curious, do people in your life, so clients, colleagues, friends, family, do people in your life notice or care about your watches besides your wife, of course?
Yeah, well, and I'm not married anymore, by the way.
Besides your ex-wife, of course.
Yes, a few have.
Okay.
It is really, first of all, let's go outside of like friends and family. It's really fun when you sit down, especially if I get upgraded to first class. I'm sitting there and somebody goes, "Dude, I like your watch. What is it?" And it's almost always other guys. Women don't come up and go, "Oh, look at your watch." It's dudes. And so that's kind of fun. My wife at the time, who was coaching me through this, there came that decision moment when you're looking at like, am I going to fork out $5,500 for something that's going to just tell me what time it is on my wrist, Yeah. And I finally, and this is something fun about my now ex. It was good for except some bad things, but anyway, there was a great thing about her because I looked over at her. I was kind of like, "So what do you?" I didn't say this, but I looked over with an expression that said, "So what do you think?" And she said, "You know exactly what I think," because she's sitting there sipping champagne. She's like, "Buy the watch," In fact, I'll say this is a principle for anybody listening and going with those decisions. Obviously, you want it to make sense. You don't want to break the bank if you're poor, go spend $10,000 on a watch. However, our common friend Dan Thurman made a great point. I was one time going to buy, I don't know about, I'll change the word he used here, but I had made a deal with myself that once I pay off my house, I will buy the truck that I want. And the problem was in the process, I found the truck I want, but I wasn't anywhere near paying it off. And so I was like, I want to buy the truck, but I want to pay off my house and I want to go with my goals, but I want to do whatever. And Dan said, "Mike, I've known you for a long time. You go after your goals. You work hard. You have a work ethic. You are so dedicated and you do such a good job. Buy the effing truck." And here's how he said it. You need to participate in your own abundance.
Oh, that is good.
You need to participate in your own abundance. That is a $1 million phrase, literally. And so I bought the truck. And I felt really great about it. And so what it allowed me to do was then happily pay off the house, which I just did like a year ago or whatever. So yeah, that was the principle. Oh, you'll love this too. I have this mastermind group that I've had for, the core of it was 20 years. Tim Gard, Dan Thurman, Dan Burris, Chad Hymas, and me. The three of us, Tim Gard, Thurman, and I, started this 20 years ago. And we just had a Zoom call yesterday. And they're my brothers from a different mother. And a guy named Waldo Waldman, whom I'm sure you know of, was what used to be in the group. He was one of the original members. And there was a point where he came in and visited. And Waldo knows success. And Waldo's smart. He's, fighter pilot. He's on top of stuff. And he walked in. He hadn't seen us in a while. He walked in, and the first thing he looked at was my watch. And he just, man, what is that? And I said, well, it's a Breitling Superocean Heritage. I got it in Denmark. But really? Wow. How much did it cost? It drew his interest immediately. And that tees up probably one of the more important things I ever heard. And that was for my career. And that has to do with this in a more general sense. It was about 2007, 2008. And I was doing well. Things, my star was kind of rising. I was getting more bookings and things were happening. And Dan Burris, who's been my best friend since 2001, my brother from a different mother, he saw me perform, and I came off stage, and he said, Mike, you are a star, but you don't look like a star. You look like the audience. He said, here's the thing. You and I both know you're pragmatic. You keep on a budget. You don't want to overspend on things. And that's great. You live below your means. And you are now going to be speaking in rooms full of extremely successful CEOs, top vice presidents, owners, entrepreneurs. They know the difference between Casio and Breitling. They know the difference between Brioni and Men's Warehouse. So you don't feel the need to express success that way, but for your audience, you might want to consider that. And he meant everything, the way I was dressing. And this happened around the same time as Jim Feldman saying that about watches. And
Yeah.
so the idea of an upgrade in general, people say dress for success. That's essentially what he was saying. And so it changed the way I dress, the clothing I wear. I found my own uniqueness with it. And that's the beautiful thing about all these. There's so many good high-end watches that you can do your own self-expression. In fact, Citizen used to have a Campanola. Do you remember those?
I don't.
I looked that up. It was like Citizen, but they had a high-end version, kind of like Honda has Acura,
Right.
Toyota has Lexus. They had this Campanola, and they're very whimsical, very sort of like, swirly art and whatever. I loved them. That's a different expression than if you get a Patek Philippe,
Yes.
which is a very traditional, a very formal, sort of like a Protestant ethic kind of a watch.
Yes. Wow, that's really great. So we mentioned about sitting in first class, people looking over at your wrist. We talked about Waldo saying, hey, tell me about your watch. For Mike Rayburn, what makes you stop and look twice at a watch? What do you notice first, or what draws in your eye?
I would say, first of all, it would be equal between shine and size. When it shines, I remember one of the knockoffs that Jim had sold me was a beautiful gold and bright, I forget what it was, but it was a knockoff of a Rolex. And I remember somebody from across the room coming over and saying, man, I just noticed your watch. Who knew? And so the shine is what does it there. But because I like a bigger watch. I don't like little ones. And so it's got to be 44 or bigger and millimeters. And so I notice when there's a size of a watch, and I also, although I don't own a chronograph, I mean, not a high-end chronograph, I notice that, the knobs, it kind of draws me in. I noticed this because I was, watching comedians who are successful, or watching even pastors or people on different reels and everything. I notice people's watch, and that's the first thing. It's kind of an indicator that it's high-end when it's a chronograph. I guess that's it.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Someone who might just be starting on their watch journey, what is something, just in your experience or just talking to friends, what is something that beginners focus on that actually doesn't really matter that much?
Great question. Because I haven't thought in terms of beginners so much, but I think for me, first of all, the thing to do would be, I think they focus a little too much on, I'm going to qualify this, too much on price. Because it goes, first you could look at it and go, $29,000 for something you're going to put on your wrist, or whatever, And I remember going through Vegas and looking at these. This is before I lived in Vegas back in the day. And this guy was at a watch. I don't know what he sold because I wasn't as into it at the time, but he considered Rolex slumming. Okay. And it was diagonally across from a Rolex store. Yeah. And he had this watch that was $251,000. And I tried it. I don't even remember what it was. But it was $251,000. And he said to me, this watch is $251,000. And if you come in here with $250,000, we will not sell it to you. And so anyway, I focused on the price and went, oh gosh, I'll never have one of these. Yeah. There's that side. And then there's the other side that says, it's the same dilemma as you can get a small Mercedes-Benz or a small Corolla. And the only difference is the meaning. They run the same. They're both engineered really well. They both drive well. They're both whatever. It's the feeling it gives you. And so I realized that early on that this is not about the money. It's about the feeling that it gives you. And for me, with money-wise, I'm still not going to do it, frivolously.
Yes.
I'm still going to budget for it and I'm going to do it right. So I think the first thing is to over-focus on price, both directions. Like, oh, this is way too much, or, oh, like I have to have the richest one out there. I think that's the first thing that people do.
And lest we forget your earlier lesson, participate in your own abundance.
Correct.
Selectively and carefully and thoughtfully.
Correct.
Very important.
Yes.
Take us on a little bit of a tour of what else is in your collection. So we talked about the awesome and amazing Desert Island watch. We talked about, the diamond encrusted Invicta for $100. And what's in between? What's the range?
Yes. So I have my second, and I don't have it sitting here right now. I'm sorry, but the watch I wear second most to the Breitling is I have it's the Thunderbird watch. And my only question, I love
that's got the blue face with the yellow, and it's just super. Yeah, it's funny, that watch is advertised very heavily in, guess what, airports. Every time I see that billboard, the billboard is still up in the Philly airport, I'm like, damn, that's a good looking watch.
Yeah. What I don't like about it is the band. I mean, it's very functional, but it doesn't look as high end. I mean, the watch, it's not thousands, but it's like $500 or something.
Yeah.
And I love the Eco Drive because I like it doesn't wind itself and it doesn't need batteries.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's solar.
Yeah. So that's my okay, I'm going to work out. I'm going to go do some work or something. That's the watch I put on there. I also have two, and I started to look up I was thinking about this talk, and I started to look up how to pronounce this. Homage watch?
Yes, homage.
I wonder about that too. So an homage watch. But I like those. And Invicta has a few of them.
Yes.
And Casio now has a few of them.
Yeah.
And they last forever. And I have a few of them. I have a Rolex Submariner. I have two Rolex Submariners, one blue face, one black face.
Yeah.
Knockoffs or homage watches. And those I haven't put batteries in. I've been in the process of with the divorce and everything. I moved from Reno to Denver.
Yeah.
So other things have been more important in my life right now. The other thing I have is just from Tahoe. Reno, Tahoe. Tahoe has these wooden watches.
Oh, yes, I've seen those.
Yes, and it's a timber something or other. And in fact, I think I have it right here. Maybe I can. ProBird, there it is.
Oh, very nice. And that is a chronograph.
Yes, it is.
With the wood case, wood dial, wood band, wood bracelet, yeah.
With wood and metal. So it's got the metals framing. With
right.
The wood decoratively down, and obviously the same wood as the face. And I love this watch. And it was made locally in Tahoe. And so I'll show you a couple of the knockoffs. Here's the black face.
Oh, yes.
And there's the blue one. In fact, you and I we have a common friend in Mike Staver.
Yes.
Mike Staver? Yes. I was wearing the black Rolex knockoff at an NSA event 10 years ago. I don't know. He came up to me and he said, you and I have the same taste in watches. And he showed me his real Rolex. It fooled him. So I'm just saying. And what I like about those is they're not knockoffs because they're not saying Rolex on them. They're saying Casio. This one says it's a Casio. It's not an Invicta.
Yeah.
It says Casio on it, but
Yeah.
luckily that's the same number of letters as Rolex, so they can make it sort of appear
That's right.
just someone looking at a distance.
And that's the Casio Duro. That's that is about, I think, a 44 millimeter, right? That's a nice size watch.
Yes. And that's the smallest watch that I like. I do like the larger ones. And that's partially because a guy in high school used to call me wrists because I have larger wrists than most people. I didn't know that, but
yes,
someone said that.
Hey, David Newman here with a quick commercial break. Have you seen our social media channels that have video snippets from our favorite interviews? Check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Now, back to the episode. It's funny. That's actually a great lesson, I think. You need to measure your wrist. You need to kind of look at these different watches because you'll look silly if you're wearing a watch that looks too small, and you'll look silly if you're wearing a watch that looks too big.
Yes.
So you have to know your sweet spot, and it's based on sort of the flat part of the top of your wrist.
Right. It's based on that, and it's also based on what image you want to present or what you like, just what you enjoy. And so, yeah, because I always see these little wimpy little watches on a guy with a muscle, and it's like it doesn't work. It's,
right, exactly.
Not quite right. And also, there's the other thing, and I'm gonna try this with this watch. Is how loosely you have it fitting. Does it slide up your arm, which I think looks horrible? I don't like that. I want it to cling to the bottom. I do this all the time to get it locked into my wrist so that it's down as close to my hand as possible. That's where I personally feel best with it. I've seen others that have them up here, have them way up the arm, and it doesn't look right.
No.
I'll say this. The other question is people who have it facing in. In other words, like that.
Yes.
They wear it so that it's on the inner part of their wrist. I hate that. Gosh. Is that how you do it?
No, not at all. Oh my gosh. I don't hate it, but I don't know what the hell they're thinking. It's like, what are you people thinking?
Yeah, because it's so easy because you put your hands down like this. You don't put them down like, you put your hands down with your hands, like imagine putting your hands on a table, right?
Yeah.
So that would, if your wrist hits, that's going to break the crystal.
That's right. Exactly.
Or scratch it.
I was just going to ask something about we weren't talking about size. We were talking about, the bracelet. So I take when I have a watch with a metal bracelet, I take it to a local jeweler that I've established a relationship with, and I have the relationship with him despite what I'm about to share with you.
Okay.
He loves a loose bracelet. So I'll take in a watch and I'm like, hey, need to have 4 links taken out. And he goes, well, you show me. So, I show him. He goes, 3. I said, no, 4. He says, no, 3. It's like he's arguing with me. So he wears a steel watch. He says, it needs to be loose. It needs to move. I'm like, no, I hate it when it moves. So what we do is either he'll take out the 3 and then I'll do the micro adjustment and then it's just about right. Or if he's really stubborn with me, he'll take out 3 because I have no mechanical skills. It's very easy to do, but I have no mechanical skills to do this. My daughter, however, has a lot of mechanical skills with watches. So he'll take out 3, she'll take out 1, and I'll get a watch that fits. Now, for that reason, I actually enjoy straps more so than bracelets because the strap, I can just put the strap on and put the right buckle in, and then it fits the way I want.
Right. I get that.
But yeah, he's Mr. Loosey-goosey, it should flop around. I'm like, it should totally not flop around.
Exactly. I'm on
team no flop.
Yeah.
We're on team
I
no
call
flop.
it Team David, but okay.
Well, there you go. Yeah. That's good too. But we have 2 final pieces of business, Mike Rayburn. One is going to be our lightning round, and then I will ask you. The lightning round is just a series of quick A or B kind of questions. Okay. And then I will ask you for any parting words of wisdom or final thoughts for our listeners. So, are you ready for the lightning round?
I'm ready.
First lightning round question, ironically, but maybe not. Strap or bracelet?
Strap.
Vintage or modern?
Modern.
1 great watch or 5 good ones?
1 great one.
Buy new or hunt for pre-owned?
New.
Loud watch or quiet watch?
10 toward, if that's a spectrum, 7 on a scale of 10 leaning toward loud.
Excellent. Well, final thoughts, parting words of wisdom. This has been so much fun. Any words of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners just as they are embarking or continuing their passion and obsession with watches?
What I would say that one of the great, probably unspoken values of this, you and I having this conversation or having a thing about watches, being an aficionado or learning about them, is that for most of us, almost all of us, for almost all of us, it's not part of our careers. It's part of just something we do.
Yeah.
And I think what I loved about when you contacted me about, or when you, the general call, and I went, I like watches, is that it's not my career. It's not even my art form. It's off topic of everything, yet it's so fun. It's so passionate. And we need something that diverts us, because those of us who can identify as achievers, as people who want to do more and grow and change and whatever, we can get tunnel vision. We can get over focused. We can get so like, yeah, go, 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 go. And you know what? Watches are fun. They're functional, but they're fun. And that's one way that I'm able to, it's a diversion. It's something, I have a couple of others. I do woodwork and I study the Civil War. I mean, just strange things. But I think we all need those, and watches are a really cool one. And then finally, just the last thing, we kind of touched on this earlier, but I think the most important part of it is that it is some form of self-expression. It's who you are. It's who you are expressed in this jewelry, functional jewelry form. And so have fun with it. I love it. I don't mind that I spent more money on this one than I ever had. And I'm going to spend more at some point. I will buy, I've got a list of the next ones I'm going to buy, And so that's what I would say. Have fun with it. Use it as self-expression.
Awesome. Well, Mike Rayburn, thank you for stopping by. This has been such fun. I really appreciate you.
Yes, and I'm so thankful for the chance to get to know you, because we haven't before, and this is really good, and I can't wait to, if I'm coming through Philly, I'm going to look you up and buy you coffee.
And that wraps up another episode of Watch Smarts. Listen, if you love this show, if you love watches, subscribe, download, leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform, and check out all the free resources waiting for you at watchsmarts.com.